England, 1879, shows us a young Harry Vardon waking up suddenly while sleeping in his small house. He hears something outside and being curious, he goes out and walks toward the men to see what's happening. "Who are you?" "It's a bunch of wealthy men who've arrived to look at the land near his house to build a golf course," he asks them. "What's golf?" one of the men answers. "It's a sport played by gentlemen, not for people like a young boy." Right here, you see exactly how snobs believe their hobbies aren't for regular people. I hope this boy shows him he's wrong. Years go by and in 1900 Brooklyn, Massachusetts, we meet a young boy named Francis Ouimet who works as a caddy for these gentlemen with a love for playing golf. He is really helpful and important, and with his good behavior included, Francis is the type of boy everyone enjoys. That same day, he discovers a golf ball with the name Vardon printed on it. On his way back, he stops at a golf club maker's shop and sees a photo of Harry Vardon, who is now the best golfer in the world. He then rushes home, but on his way again, he sees a lovely girl with the most lovely eyes. Even in a tale about golf, we get these little, almost movie-like moments of human kindness. He smiles at her, and she does too. At home, Francis lives with his father Arthur and mother Mary, who are both from the working class. His father Arthur constantly reminds him to bring back the money and look after the family. This works as a clear reminder and marker to show how Arthur won't trade security with fun or sports. Arthur stands for the immigrant working class father, careful of dreams, focused on stability, and who can fault him? That night, Francis spends most of his time reading about Vardon and imagining being like him. The following day, the golf club maker who noticed him looking at the photo yesterday appears and sets down a small golf club in Francis's size. The man walks off, and that same late evening, Francis gets out of bed and starts playing golf. It's his first attempt, and he's thrilled. However, his mother says he is keeping his brother awake and must sleep now. The following day, Harry Vardon has a visit at the city hall and Francis pleads with his father to go. However, Arthur, being the head of the house he is, refuses it and tells him to go to school. This is how parents accidentally destroy their children's dreams without even realizing. His mother wishes her son to go and watch what he wants, but Arthur exits the table saying, "No more of this discussion." However, later on, Francis's mother, Mary, brings her son to the event and allows him to go. Francis observes an exhibition by famous British golf player Harry Vardon, who is already a 3-time British Open winner and has won the US Open Championship as well before. He is so thrilled to see Harry Vardon in real life and even raises his hand to be chosen when Vardon asks the crowd for one. Harry first believes young Francis is adorable and all, but then gets focused to teach him how to strike the golf ball. This is wonderful. Sometimes just a nice word or action from a professional can totally change a kid's life. He demonstrates how to hold the golf club, and with a few attempts, Francis is able to make a strong shot. From that day forward, Francis keeps practicing golf every day around their yard. Arthur isn't happy, but so far he hasn't said anything to his son about stopping the sport. Back in England, Harry thinks that he is being asked by Lord Northcliffe to join the Gentlemen's Golf Club, also the British Golf Association. This is a special honor as Harry comes from the working class himself, and only lords are asked to join. But it appears that Northcliffe only wishes Harry to work for them for a salary. "Yes, we wish you to work for us." Now, Francis has grown older with a strong love for playing golf. He is so interested that he practices putting it up at night in his bedroom. Soon we see Francis start as a caddy in the US. The Country Club, a fancy place located across the road from his home in suburban Brooklyn, Massachusetts. While becoming friends with the other caddies, he practices his own golf skills at every opportunity and slowly builds his own collection of clubs with the support of the club caddy master. Soon, a U.S. gentleman, Mr. Hastings, asks Francis to play with him on the country club course where caddies have almost no permission of their own, and he shoots a good round of 81 despite a triple bogey. The club caddy master is so impressed by Francis's skill and drive, talent, calmness, and polite behavior that he earns fans and attention. So he and Hastings ask him if he would want to compete in the National Amateur Championship here next month. However, the executive board isn't happy about their 10-year caddy, Francis, leaving from his job to keep his status as an amateur. Thus, they challenge his right to compete if he doesn't have a home club to back him. After some uncomfortable putting down of Francis by the so-called board of gentlemen who won't let him compete unless he is a member, the caddy master says he will be his backer to Francis as he is a solid standing club member. However, Even with that issue being fixed, Francis still needs a $50 entry payment to be fully qualified and enter the competition. This amount seems tiny today, but to a struggling family back then, it was a chance. A real bet on a boy's dream. $50 to play golf. I'll pay back every cent from my earnings. Arthur, never being a supporter of his son's interests, pauses to spend his money on this. He is strongly convinced that these sports won't give a man what he requires to look after his family and meet his duties. He also believes that men there will use him as their own source of fun, and he won't improve his life through golf. However, despite it all, Francis tries to share he is talented at it, and he enjoys it, and it could take him 2 places. However, Arthur stays traditional. In fact, he suggests a long-term problem-fixing idea. He would give the $50 to Francis. But if he loses that match, he will stop playing golf and turn his focus to working hard and bringing home an honest salary. On the other hand, if he wins, he continues golf and Arthur himself will help him. Now, this is reasonable. The father is taking a chance even though he doesn't trust in the sport. But something says he'll regret this deal later. With that agreement, Francis's hopes rise, and that night he goes to a party where all players are welcomed. There he sees that lovely lady with the lovely eyes that he saw in childhood. She is trying to avoid some guy and Francis aids her. With this start, they go to dance and chat a little for Francis's joy. But other than that, he feels disconnected as the gentlemen there are much wealthier and with noble families and respect. You may have been welcomed, but don't think the idea that you fit in here. At the match of the day, Francis displays amazing skill by making shots unlike an amateur. The lovely girl Sarah is also there, and he is showing strong ability to her enjoyment. His club caddy master is also there along with Hastings. Meanwhile, back home, his mother worries and is nervous about what has occurred on the field. In the distance, she can hear sound, but she isn't certain how her boy could be performing. After several more strong shots and clapping from the crowd watching, Francis is prepared to hit the one shot that decides his entry. However, just then he sees his father, and is reminded how serious and deciding the shot is. Distracted, he fails and falls one stroke away of qualifying for the championship main event. Oh, that's sad. Sometimes just one look from a loved one can be enough to distract you and crush your dreams. He is upset but more mad at himself. Some of the players criticize him for missing the shot and tease if he will caddy for them in the competition, but Francis keeps his head low and exits the field while his name is removed off the board. At home, he displays his tearful eyes to his mother and she understands his dad is pleased now, but doesn't reveal it. However, Francis goes to his bedroom and takes down Harry's newspaper that motivated him to become great, displaying his leaving in the sport. This action hurts, like watching a kid take down a poster when their faith in themselves starts to break. Soon, the British Golf Association wishes Harry to start a campaign to win the US Open again so that they can claim the honor of holding all the major sports titles: football, cricket, rugby, and golf at the same time. Harry wishes an assistant and picks one from the working class, Ted Ray, to support his campaign. Ted earns money by doing golf party tricks for paying clients. Harry ignores the complaints of all the major golf clubs in Britain who wish Harry to pick an assistant from among their members. Elsewhere, with much mockery from the wealthy people like Freddie, Francis, now 20, keeps his promise to his dad and works at a sporting goods shop in Boston as a cleaner while continuing to live at home. So, here's the outcome. Honestly, it's sad to observe a young man abandon his dreams just to avoid letting down his father. Now, with his golf abandoned, Francis is still at the bottom of the working class and has to be modest. One day, he went to the opera with his mom to enjoy the lovely sound of the singer. However, his focus is caught by Sarah, who is in the VIP area with her family. She becomes a symbol here. Not just a crush, but the life Francis feels separated from. He now feels like he doesn't belong even to get near to her. So he just looks at her accompanied by the amazing sound of the singer. While coming home, he told Mary how he was captivated by the woman's voice, as if the song is coming from somewhere else but through her. His mother agreed to the beauty, but Francis went as far as telling her that this is what he desired for himself. When Mary asks what for, he just walks off. But we surely know he has a natural gift for golf, and he was talking about that ability of his. The following day, the president of the United States Golf Association enters the shop with Mr. Hastings and personally asks him to play in the upcoming US Open Championship that will be held in 2 weeks. We're holding our Open Championship there in 2 weeks. Francis wishes to play, but he remembered his promise to his father, so he told them he couldn't accept with a very saddened but grateful attitude. The moment feels sad. Here's someone with a chance of a lifetime blocked not by skill, but loyalty. They couldn't do anything if he didn't wish to play, so they left him him not to disturb. However, Francis's heart desires this more than anything, and he just said no because of his father, who told him to give up on dreams and earn more money to bring home. Despite it, he once again grabbed a golf club at the shop and copied his old days. Shortly, Sarah visits him and talks to him about playing golf, but he just told her he saw her father and brother usually here in the shop. He feels a bit embarrassed because unlike her family, he doesn't have much option in life and he felt less than to be part of her group. She felt bad for him, but what can she do other than leaving him, saying, "See you later." Later, Henry sees and hears the sounds of clapping for the golfers, and he feels pushed to talk to Mr. Watson again. Rushing, he went and told him he changed his mind. The club caddy master was there with Watson, so he was happy Francis changed his mind. He went on and told him to be ready for some practice before the match. Soon enough, Francis started his strong dedication to make himself as the best, and the caddy master was thankful for his work. There's something deeply satisfying about a training sequence, even in prose. This one earns it. Soon, Francis gets entry to the 1913 US Open that takes place at the country club, and the match starts. Just at his first shot, Francis hits 6 straight birdies at the course to prove to Mr. Hastings and the club caddy master that he is ready for the Open Championship. Meanwhile, his other opponents, who are far more skilled, experienced, and of noble family, are getting a briefing, which Francis also attended. The favorites are British champions Vardon and Ted Ray, who are joined by the snobbish Lord Northcliffe and the current US Open champion John McDermott. Northcliffe looks to see that either Vardon or Ray wins the Open to confirm British control over the Americans in golf and also to show that only gentlemen are able champions. The atmosphere is filled with pressure as one considers himself better than the other, and the only humble guy in the room is Francis, who even claps to support their words. Later, however, his caddy boy leaves him at the last minute because some English guy has offered to pay him more. Francis was scared and asked him to stay, but the boy prefers money over loyalty. Francis starts to search for another caddy boy for tomorrow's match, but his luck only brings him to a little boy, Eddie, who is eager to be his caddy. Eddie is the heart of the story, a kid who appears, believes, and never gives up, a reflection of young Francis. Francis only agrees to let him be a scorekeeper and not his main caddy boy, but he insists Eddie's older brother Jack appear tomorrow early to help him. Later, he went home and was followed by his father. Arthur is let down because his son couldn't follow in his path and chose to follow his dreams. So, he questions if his son is still under his control. Feeling like he's the correct one, Arthur informs Francis that he must find his own place to live after the competition since he now lives by his own rules and doesn't require him. Francis agrees. However, his mother has been helpful of his golf from the beginning and probably will be let down by this. The following day, Francis came to the field, but only to discover Jack abandoned him for school. And now his only choice is to take Eddie, the little boy who is eager to be his caddy. But Francis isn't so certain of him. Francis has no option but to make him his caddy. Eddie was small, excited, and didn't know much about the sport, but his heart was in the correct place. Francis wasn't certain if he could rely on him, but with no one else to help, he decided to take the risk. After the first 2 rounds, the competition was hard. Harry Vardon and Ted Ray, both skilled British players, were in the lead. The defending champion, John McDermott, couldn't keep up and slowly fell behind. Francis at first struggled to find his flow on the course, but with Eddie by his side encouraging him on and helping to keep him focused, Francis started making one good shot after another. By the end of the 4th round, something nobody thought happened. Francis tied with Vardon and Ray. That meant all 3 of them would face each other in one final 18-hole playoff to decide who the champion would be. That night before the big playoff, Lord Northcliffe made fun of Francis's family in front of Vardon. He mocked the idea that someone from a struggling family, someone without class or noble connections, could ever truly be champion. Oh, these arrogant snobs. Makes me want to grab Harry Potter's broom and magically spank some sense into them. Vardon, who also came from a working-class family, didn't take it lightly. He stood up for Francis and told Northcliffe that if Francis won, it would be because of his skill and hard work, not where he came from. He reminded Northcliffe that being a true gentleman means treating others with respect, especially those who earn it. The following day, the playoff round started. All 3 players, Francis, Vardon, and Ray, played at their best. For most of the round, they were neck and neck, but as they reached the back 9 holes, Ray started to fall behind. That left only Vardon and Francis fighting for the win. They were just 1 stroke apart heading into the final hole. Shortly, Vardon played first and finished with a par. The crowd was silent as Francis stepped up. The pressure was high. He could feel his heart racing, his hands shaking. One missed shot and it would be all over. Eddie, seeing that Francis was nervous, leaned in and gave him a little pep talk. Just a few calm words to remind him who he was and what he could do. You can do it. With that, Francis took a deep breath and focused. He made the putt. It went in. What a moment. His entire life was riding on this one shot, and he nailed it. Truly inspiring. The crowd exploded with cheers. Francis Ouimet had won the US Open. People began lifting both Francis and Eddie on their shoulders, cheering and celebrating. Some even offered Francis money on the spot. He told them to give it to Eddie, except one small bill offered quietly by his father, who now at last looked. The moment and eye contact said everything. His mother also smiles in the distance with happiness filling her spirit. Later, inside the clubhouse, Vardon came to Francis privately. He smiled and told him he played like a true champion, and suggested that maybe someday they could play a round of golf together just for fun. Francis nodded. It wasn't just about winning, it was about respect. Shortly, Francis and Eddie left the course together, holding the US Open trophy, walking proudly and smiling like they owned the world. It ends how it should. Two underdogs walking off with pride, proving heart beats class. As for what occurred next, Harry Vardon went on to win his 6th British Open the following year, making him one of the best golfers in history. Francis won 2 amateur championships and later became a successful businessman. And Eddie, the little caddy boy with a big heart, grew up to become a millionaire. But more than anything, he and Francis stayed friends for life.